Is coding for you? This is the topic that we're going to talk about today. And now, before we get into that, I just want to touch on this one thing. Countless people learn to code every single day. And what we're doing here is at Dev Journey is to ensure that you're one of the few who actually turn that knowledge into a rewarding career, whether that's in employment, freelancing, or launching your own startup. We want to make sure that you stand out in the tech crowd. So today we're going to be exploring whether or not this dynamic career is for you, if it's a right fit. So let's jump into it without further ado. So in this career of being a software engineer, being a programmer, being a developer, being a coder, the first thing that we really got to honestly identify is whether like your aspirations, right? So are you seeking more than just a job? Right? Are you looking to make a difference with your work? Are you looking for something to make an impact? Do you have a desire for, creative freedom? It's very, very important in this job. A little part of creativity. Now, you don't have to be somebody who's super, super creative and color and have all these different colorful like palettes and all of that like aspect of things. You don't. I'm not that type of person, and you definitely don't need to be. But you need to have some form of creativity, right? Because you're building things, you're creating things, and you need to have or do you actually, do you have a longing for a financial, growth and flexibility? I feel like most people, if you're watching this, you probably do have that, and you probably do want to work from anywhere in the world. And so let's continue to move. Uh, there are some common questions that come up with this, right? And one part of it is people start to feel overwhelmed, and it's very, very normal. I should definitely say that, like, it's very, very normal to start feeling overwhelmed when something is new, right? Because one of the first questions is, where do I begin? There's so many resources out there. There's so many people, so many YouTubers, so many other developers telling you, learn this programming language, no, learn that programming language. So it becomes really, really difficult to understand because sometimes they're contradicting each other, and you might have experienced that. And, some other common questions that I get often is, can I really do this? Yes, you can. You can. And also, how do I find the time, right? Because now going into this role, if you're trying to just get your feet wet, you're thinking about how to do this without like spending a whole bunch of money and all this other stuff. But when you're doing the self-taught route, now you have to be the teacher and you have to be the student, right? It becomes really, really difficult. And plus, where do I begin? So to make things a little bit easier, I have a roadmap for you. It outlines your first 6 weeks. It just makes it very simple, and you can just follow that roadmap, and you'll get a really good basic understanding of HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. It does a really good job. 6 weeks in, you're going to be building some really, really amazing things. It's free, and again, it's going to be in the description below. So definitely, definitely, definitely check that out. Okay, and it will help you out with a lot of this and just free your mind from having to like try to plan and organize what it is that you're going to be doing. So let's move on. And so why software engineering? Why should you choose software engineering? And if you're considering this path, these might be like, some of the questions you might be looking at other different fields as well. Well, this is a career that's obviously in high demand. Now, you might be like, oh, well, I know so and so who graduated from a boot camp, or so and so who finished this program, or so and so who got this computer science degree, and they still don't have a job. That's very, very true. And so when we say like high demand, like you're not just coding. It's much, much more than just coding and software engineering. It's actually solving real world problems. And so a lot of people, like I mentioned earlier, they start coding, right? They start learning how to code, but they have a hard time doing that transition, right? And to actually making those skills pay off because they're just focused on the syntax. They're just following tutorials and tutorials and tutorials. It's called tutorial hell. And if you're stuck in that, it becomes very, very difficult because now you're looking for jobs, but all you've been doing is following other people. You haven't been solving real world problems. Thus, there's not a demand for people who follow tutorials and just learn how to code. There's a demand for people who can solve real world problems. Big distinction, right there. Okay. And so, obviously there's opportunities to innovate. You continuously are like pushing the envelope because we're building things. And no matter what anyone says, there's an infinite amount of ways to code something, right? So that's the beauty behind this because you're building something for you to be actually really proud of. And honestly, obviously, it gives you the freedom to work wherever, anywhere in the world, anywhere that you choose to do. And it breaks you free from these, like, the traditional, career job where you gotta like commute and stuff like that. Well, I should say this, there are some people who prefer to be in office. There are some people who like the shift, right? They feel like they're more productive in the workplace. There are people like that. And if you're like that, well, guess what? Usually this type of job also provides that for you as well. Like they provide office space for you, usually, for you to be able to go in and to be able to do that. And if you are like that, but you're like, hey, I don't want to like meet anybody, you could just go to a cafe too. So there's that option. You literally can work wherever. That's the beauty of it. So everyone needs to start somewhere. So really the big part of being a software engineer, if you're at this point and you're like, yeah, this is definitely something that I want to do. This sounds right. This sounds like this is something that I could do. You definitely want to understand that everyone starts somewhere and you need to um, be nice to yourself. I've seen so many people beat up themselves when they're learning something new. Just be nice. And because there are so many resources out there, so many. And because there's so many resources out there, you're able to do this at your own pace. Okay? You're able to do it at your own pace. And the beauty behind that is, well, it's a double-edged sword because you can do it at your own pace, but when you see other people, you see them doing things at a much faster pace, and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm slow. I'm not picking up things as quickly as I'm supposed to do, and the whole bunch of doubt starts to creep in, like, oh, maybe this is not for me. Maybe I'm not supposed to be able to do this. Maybe I shouldn't do this, right? The roadmap that I have it's a suggestion for you, right? It's a pacer for you, but if it doesn't work 100% with you, I mean, you guys have a whole bunch of things that you're doing with your life anyway. Most people that I deal with are working a full-time job, or they got kids, you got a family, you got to provide, you got bills to pay for, you got things that you're doing. And so you're not a 16-year-old that their mom is paying everything, you could just lock in and code, or 18-year-old, 20-year-old lock in code. And if you are 18-year-old, 19-year-old, 20-year-old, 16-year-old, and you're watching this video, then you have like an amazing opportunity right now to really just lock in and learn everything that you could possibly learn and not have to worry about everything that I just mentioned for other people, right? So regardless of the situation you're in, do not compare yourselves to other people, because comparison is the thief of joy. And then lastly, for this point, we definitely want to say community is super, super important. And so I'm going to be starting up a community soon as well. And if that's something that you're interested in, definitely let me know below in the comments that you would like to join the community and just be able to provide support in addition with the free roadmap to be able to guide you guys. I do really, really want to support you. So you must imagine your future, envision your success, right? You have to be able to see yourself doing these things. Okay, it's super, super important. We're going to be building apps that people love. See yourself building these apps that people love, right? That they just can't get enough of, in a good way, And you want to achieve your personal goals. In order to achieve your personal goals, you have to have personal goals, right? So what are your goals? You need to have those. If it's traveling, don't just say I want to just travel. Like, where do you want to travel? Right? What are the things that you want to buy when you have all this money, when you have financial freedom? What are the things that you want to do? Because when you envision that, it's going to create a desire for you to actually learn the proper skills of problem solving, and you're going to be problem solving with code and obviously your computer, right? And that's going to just push you through even more if this is something you still want to do. And being part of a global change. Now, I'm not talking about politics or anything like that. I'm talking about tech innovators. Software engineers are actually driving like kind of this global technological innovation, right? Like AI and all that other stuff. Like we're pushing the envelope. Even video games, right? Like we're pushing the envelope. Games are getting better. Everything in tech is just evolving, is getting better, right? So you need to envision yourself being a part of that, and making the space better, right? Maybe you're underrepresented in that field, right? Like it's no secret I'm black, right? I'm underrepresented in the field, right? And so like maybe there's some things that I can do to help in that space, or maybe there's some things that you can do to help in that space as well. All right, so let's just make it simple. What are the simple steps? Your first steps that you need to do. If you made it to this point in the video, obviously you probably want to be a software engineer. You probably want to be a coder. You're just looking for like, is it like, give me the okay, right? So what are your first steps that you need to do on this journey is you need to identify what excites you the most. What excites you the most in tech? Is it gaming? Is it mobile? Is it web? Is it AI? Is it machine learning? Is it cloud? What is it that excites you? And you choose that. You choose that field. Don't choose the programming languages. Please don't start with programming languages. Oh, this is so I hate that. Right? It's just a tool, right? It's just a tool. Like you can have a hammer, you can have a screwdriver, right? You can use the back of the screwdriver for a nail sometimes, right? If you don't got a hammer, right? So like it's all about the tool. I mean, it's all about what it is that you want to do, the project that you want to do, or what excites you in tech, and then the tools will follow that. Don't choose the tools first. It's backwards. And then you want to dedicate a little bit of time each week to learning in that field that you have identified. And then you want to join a like-minded community, right? So if you're into web development, then hey, like I mentioned, comment below if you're interested in us like having a Discord community and growing together. Then comment below. We do web development primarily over here. We're looking to expand into other fields too, but for now, that's what we do. Okay. And that's pretty much it. So your future awaits you. You know, we got a quote from here from Mark Twain. You know, the secret of getting ahead is getting started. Right? I mean, it's as simple as that. Like, you know, the number one regret from a lot of people, a lot of elders in, you know, the nursing homes is that they wish they would have done the things that they love to do. And we have youth on our side. You know, even if you're in your 30s or 40s or 50s, you're still young. You're still young. You still can break into the space, right? You still can travel. You still can do all the things that you want to do, you've been dreaming about doing. But if you never start on that path, you will never get there. So if software engineering is what you want to do, then start. Don't wait.